All right, so in the last video, we saw that these enlightened absolutists, supposed enlightened absolutists, were so in love with war, which went counter to the Enlightenment. So we're going to see two examples of that. First, we'll see the War of Austrian Succession, which will happen to trigger another war. But when Maria Theresa came to the throne of Austria, Frederick II of Prussia thought that would be a good chance to take territory away from Austria because he viewed it'd be easy since Maria Theresa was a woman. And instead, this triggered a war that's going to happen on three different continents. Right? It's going to be fought in Europe, it's going to be fought in Asia, it's going to be fought in North America. And so what happens is France sides with Prussia during this war, and Great Britain sides with Austria. Now, France sides with Prussia not because France and Prussia were friends, but because France was the traditional enemy of Austria. So they're automatically going to be on the opposing side, and Great Britain was an enemy of France. They were colonial rivals. They wanted the same territory in Asia and in the New World, so it made sense for Great Britain to join on the side with Austria because it would give them a chance to fight France. So this war was fought on three different continents. But the result was essentially nothing. By the time the war ended and the treaty was signed, all territory that was conquered was given back to the original owners except for Silesia. So you essentially fought a war for no reason, and Maria Theresa still doesn't have Silesia back. That is going to lead to the 7 Years' War. And this is going to shake up the power structure in Europe because there's going to be some new allies. In the 7 Years' War, France, Austria, and Russia are on the same side. And France and Austria being on the same side, it's a big deal because I just mentioned that traditionally they were enemies. This was a huge diplomatic coup for Maria Theresa to convince France, its traditional ally, to be a friend with Austria. And it'll have a huge impact on Europe because to seal the deal, Maria Theresa will arrange for one of her daughters, Marie Antoinette, to marry the future King of France, Louis XVI. Of course, these will be the monarchs during the French Revolution. Okay? And then we'll get to Russia in a second. So Britain sides with Prussia, right? Because Britain's not going to be on the same side as France, because Britain and France were colonial rivals. So Britain switches teams and helps Prussia, not because it likes Prussia, but because it hates France. Russia is going to help Austria because Russia wants some of the same territory in Europe that Prussia wants. Right? So this all starts because of Silesia, but everybody has their own reasons for fighting. Russia wants to fight to weaken Prussia. Britain wants to fight to weaken France. Austria wants Silesia back. Prussia wants to keep Silesia. So everybody has their own reasons for fighting. And this war, once again, will take place in three different continents, Europe, Asia, and in North America. And this war has more results than the War of Austrian Succession. That one didn't change anything really. This changes a lot, not necessarily in Europe, but elsewhere. Britain gains territory in Asia, and more importantly, it gains territory in North America. Because of this 7 Years' War, what's called the French and Indian War over here, in the New World, Britain is going to get all of France's territory east of the Mississippi, and Britain is going to get all of Canada from France as well. So Britain's going to become the master of a good chunk of the New World, and by the end of the 7 Years' War, Britain will be the world's leading colonial power. So this war, really this chain of events, when it started, had nothing to do with Britain, but by the time it's over, Britain comes out the clear winner. Austria never gets Silesia back, for instance. But France and Austria have a newfound alliance. This war gave Catherine the Great the excuse to overthrow her husband, right? So the 7 Years' War has a larger impact than the War of Austrian Succession does.